Did you watch the latest episode of Attack on Titan yet? You know, the final chapters? If you haven't, I'll be spoiling everything. I'm just telling you right now. So let's see what we found this time around. From the recent episodes nearing the conclusion of the series, we've already seen Ymir a few times, but now with this latest episode, we can also more evidently feel Ymir's involvement in the rumbling. It's not only that Eren is borrowing Ymir's power in order to cause such a bone-chilling scene. There might be something more than that, as during the first few minutes of the episode, when Eren is crying and expressing his feelings about the rumbling to the child that he had just saved, you can see the reflection of Ymir in the child's eyes as the scene slowly shifts to the scene where Ymir stands and watches as the child faces his death. But that's not her only appearance in this episode, as we see her again when Eren has summoned his friends into the path. He stands alongside Ymir. We can only speculate that this might mean that their emotions have intertwined together to some extent. Particularly when Eren is apologizing to the child is when Ymir's reflection eventually appears. Could it be that Ymir was also the one apologizing for causing the rumbling alongside Eren? This only means that quite obviously, Eren is not the only one causing the rumbling. There can be quite a few theories concerning Ymir and Eren's certain bond, as both share the experience of having the founding Titan's powers. But what do you think? Let us know in the comments and be sure to crush the like and subscribe button. Too soon? Now, foreshadowing and subtle details are something that make the show particularly enjoyable to watch. There's just so much attention to the littlest of things that makes us viewers feel how much effort is put into the project, and this isn't the first time Attack on Titan has done something like this, but in this episode, Floch's arrival is foreshadowed at first with the trail of water, and then later, as the team is preparing the airship, we can see Floch entering the space in the background before he fires and alerts us of his presence. It is a subtle detail, but of course we love small details like that because it didn't make his entry into the scene unexpected or sudden. We could see him staggering in the background without the rest of the characters noticing, and that just made it an even better viewing experience. Throughout the episode, we get some close-up shots of the Titans' faces, and if we look at their eyes, each of them is portraying a different set of emotions. While some look horrified, there are those that seem devoid of emotion and those who even have anger or a crazed look in their eyes. Now, you must be thinking that in the series, even most of the regular Titans have some sort of expression. Mostly creepy smiles and the facial expressions are sort of there. What makes these ones so different? The Colossal Titans marching in the rumbling are particularly unique because of how most of them have a similar face, but first of all, none of them are smiling, and like I mentioned before, it's more of what their eyes portray, which is horror, anger, indifference, and some sort of madness. Could there be people inside of those Titans, horrified at the actions they are being made to do? Or could it be that these Titans who are marching are expressing all the emotions Eren had been feeling throughout the march? A mixture of regret, anger, madness, and indifference? It could be a number of things, but we thought this was also a really cool detail. The theme of freedom is not something that has just been introduced in this episode. There was always a question and concern for freedom that was put forward by this series. In this episode, however, it is emphasized even more, and we are shown just to what extent Eren has been obsessed with freedom this whole time. While the world is being flattened and there is terrible destruction in its wake, Eren has reverted to a child and sees it as clear skies. We could tell that Eren would go to great lengths to obtain his ideal form of freedom, but he isn't really free, he just wants to be. Because when he has summoned his friends on the path, Eren tells his friends that they are free to stop him, but he is free to move forward. We can also take this as Eren saying that he isn't free to stop the rumbling. There can be a lot of speculation on what freedom truly means to Eren, but it is definitely one of the motivating factors that has Eren pursuing the rumbling despite his conflicting emotions. His drive for freedom is so great that it becomes a cage, where that very freedom becomes his prison, where, unfortunately, Eren has become a prisoner of the freedom he so desperately seeks. Armin sees it in a similar way when the episode ends with him asking Eren, "In what way are you free?" Man, this conclusion is already off to a heavy start. We've seen Armin frequently visit Annie as she was trapped in her cocoon. It wasn't strange, as we already assumed that Armin probably had feelings for her, but you could also say he was visiting a fellow companion that he was unable to save in the midst of all the losses, out of regret even. But all those assumptions go right out the window as we get this scene bringing the feelings of both Armin and Annie into light. Annie was not in slumber. She listened to all what Armin said while she was unable to wake up, and even developed feelings for him. It's a bit difficult to believe that someone as hard-headed and stoic as Annie was having feelings for Armin this whole time, but it's a welcome display of emotion from her, as many ships have happily sailed and are now celebrating because of this confirmation of their mutual interest. Honestly, some of us, even though hopeful, didn't even see this one coming, but then again, neither did Mikasa. And not to mention, during the talk between Mikasa and Annie, she even mentions how she wants to spend the rest of her life peacefully as she gazes at Armin, so it isn't just some crush either. Annie is completely serious about Armin, and we'd love to see it. We really do wish the best for this tragic couple. Now this is something that some of us may remember, but we also might have forgotten because the very first release of the series was more than 10 years ago. Seriously? It has been that long? We're all getting really old, aren't we? But anyways, in the very first episode, when Eren wakes up, it's under the same tree with Mikasa, saying the very same lines that we get in the beginning of this episode. Truly an amazing callback. But that's not all. There are very noticeable differences in both of the scenes where the very first one had a bit of a close-up shot. This one is quite zoomed out and we can see lesser flowers in the foreground as compared to the very first episode that was abundant with flowers. It might be a small difference, but it could actually be a subtle hint towards deteriorating life and, well, there are also more windmills in this current scene that weren't present in the older one, but we believe the presence of flowers to be more important in the recreation of this moment. Eren also wakes up more peacefully this time compared to the first where he wakes up rather distressed, but in both scenes he is crying. Again, a number of speculations can be made, particularly how this time around, Eren has made peace with the reality he has to face compared to before, but as always, let us know what you think. As Eren is walking around the very town he will destroy, there is a bronze statue that we can see. This statue is probably the statue of a hero or founder of the town, but why is it important? So we haven't seen any other statues of him aside from the one where he stands like a guardian over the people. But then later, this statue changes its pose. Yes, you heard that right. After the rumbling has hit this town, in the ruins we see a brief shot of the same statue using its spear to impale a giant's head, as if an effort to protect the people against giants maybe? No, we aren't trying to say that the statue is alive, but we do believe it is depicted in such a way in order to give a visual that is open to interpretation on what that may be. It is also to be noted that the giant's head looks more like a titan, so could we perhaps take it in a way that humanity's retaliation against the titans brought about ruin? How the turntables indeed. The two boys that we see, Halil and Ramsey, have tragically met their end under the crushing weight of the Colossal Titans. But something we have failed to notice is that once we get a view of the surrounding area, the two boys are the only ones we can see visibly and explicitly crushed, despite the Titans obviously having crushed numerous other people. So why do we only see the remains of these two boys? It could be that we are particularly shown the remains in order for the series to highlight Eren's guilt towards these particular children. However, if we consider the most apparent meaning, we are being shown the devastation of Eren's actions. It isn't easy to watch, but it is certainly impactful to get this particular visual. When Hanji valiantly gives her life and passes away being enveloped by flames, there is a lot going on in the moment where she meets her fallen comrades. Most evidently, we can see Sasha in the crowd with her back facing the camera, but once we get a wider shot, the first little detail is that we can see the silhouette of where she had fallen, which is a really cool detail. And then another thing is that there is someone else in the crowd that we haven't seen in a long time. Near the bottom right of the entire shot, we can see Dot Pixes, which is not that unexpected, but it's something we would have completely missed if we weren't watching so closely. And the chief official is the only one from the garrison we can visibly see. It isn't much of a surprise at all that the two most powerful characters in the anime have such amazing senses when it comes to danger, but it's worth noting that during the time both were on the plane headed towards Fort Salta, before the Beast Titan's attack hit the plane, both Levi and Mikasa were able to sense the oncoming attack. Again, just a subtle detail, but it's the little things that count, and it all happens so fast that it can be easy to miss with everything going on. Even nearing the end of the series, we are reminded by just how amazing the Ackermans can be. This episode definitely had a lot to take in, and we are eagerly awaiting for the conclusion. So if you've made it to the end of this video and you enjoyed it, do give us a like and subscribe, and we'd love to hear your thoughts on stuff we may have missed. Thanks for watching.